Joining me in the studio to talk more on this is a fellow of the Institute of Medical Laboratory Council of Nigeria, Dr. Albert Odemuyiwa. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, doctor, what are the causes of gastroenteritis and the conditions for transmission?
Gastroenteritis is the inflammation of the stomach and the intestines as a result of bacteria infection, causing viral infections and fungal infection, leading to diarrhea, vomiting, stooling, nausea, and fatigue.
And why is the disease predominant in developing countries, and who are more vulnerable?
Well, due to our hygiene, especially in areas where we have water flooding, there could be contamination from surfaces, contamination from food and drinks. And that is why we always want people that are into food businesses to pass through what we call food handlers test from the laboratory to be tested, so that they will be free from all these parasites, especially when it comes to contaminating the food that are given to people. And also, we just have to be very careful of what we drink and what we consume. With personal hygiene, when you touch contaminated surfaces, we have to wash, not only through during the Ebola system. All of us were educated on how to be washing our hands, but this time around, we just have to form the habit of that personal hygiene and environmental sanitation.
All right, sir. So over 10 deaths have been recorded in Lagos from 300 cases. Why is gastroenteritis a major health challenge in a populous city like Lagos?
Yes, just like I told you initially, the attitude of people towards what they consume is not really perfected enough. The consumers should be very much aware that there are contamination from what they could drink and what they should eat. So anybody that we want to buy food from, you look at the environment, the hygiene of the person, have the person passed through food handlers test. It's not just about consuming what you want to consume, but you just have to be very much careful of what goes into your stomach, because all these can lead to infection of the stomach, gastritis, and other viral infections that could be picked from food. Whatever we consume determine what happened to us in the stomach, and that is why we have to be much careful about what we consume. When the government say, go try and clean your environment, don't let your environment be dirty, it is for your personal effect. Because when your environment is contaminated, when you allow flood to enter your house and there's no personal hygiene, you are bound to be contaminated. It's not all about taking drugs. What are our attitude towards controlling all this spreading of infection?
Now, doctor, we have so many food vendors in Lagos.
Yes.
And you talked about food handling tests. Who really should take charge of this food handling test? Is it the food vendors themselves? Is it the state government?
Well, there's always a procedure. The state government have already laid down the controlling system. We have the, apart from the NAFDAC, we have the Minister of Health, they have the HEFAMA, the Health Monitoring Agency. They go around and they monitor. In the local government have their local officer, health officers that move around to control of these food handlers tests. But the problem is that many people are not really keen into it, because it's not all about selling food. It is all about you are feeding people, and you should be in a position to give people good food. And that is why the food handlers test is much important. And they have been directed to go to laboratories to go and get themselves tested. Their workers should be tested to be free from not only bacteria and viruses, other parasites, fungi, even worms, that is worms. So all these things have to be tested. When they are tested, they are free. Then we are feeding the populace. Then they are sure that they are giving the right food. And I think the attitude of people towards those responses, they just believe that probably the health officers are after them, but the point is prevention is better than cure, and we should key into this.
Well, you talked about Lagos being a popular city.
Yeah.
Health challenges are everywhere. Environmental hygiene
Yeah.
is quite important. How can we now then say we are tackling this, or we should tackle gastroenteritis frontally?
Yes. Information have been given. Government have established various centers for people to go through check-up whenever you have any incidents of diarrhea, vomiting, stooling. You should not just stay back in your home. You should be able to approach the necessary facilities which have been put in place. Also, the attitude, personal attitude of hygiene and environmental sanitation have to be put much into practice so that we'll be able to guide against all these things.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Albert Odemuyiwa, for joining us.
Thank you.
And we now take a break. Panorama continues shortly.